I want to touch on something that for many is a great barrier to remembering who they are. I know it was for me and many of my clients, and is something that I constantly find myself doing special extra nurturing to heal these spaces. I want to talk about nobility and worthiness. I know sometimes this can be a barrier to approaching our spiritual process because we think we have to do something in order to earn the titles of worthiness and nobility. We think this is a title for spiritual royalty, but this just simply isn't true. Worthiness and nobility are spiritual gems, and they're given to us at birth. At birth. They are a form of a divine currency. They are not earned, they are bestowed. Worthiness refers to the priceless value of our soul, and nobility is simply the garment you wear when you embody the attributes of God. These conditions are our natural state of being. We can't lose them, but we can lose sight of them. And so, this divine currency is where abundance flows from. When our physical mind makes bad choices, this doesn't erase our worthiness or nobility. It just means we are putting a lot of mud on a perfect mirror. And so our work becomes just removing the obscuring dust from the soul so we can reveal our true light. Beautiful saying from Reverend Michael Beckwith. He says, nobility means each day we have the opportunity to be better than we were yesterday. Each day we have the option to choose higher thoughts and recreate a new reality. We have an unnatural fear of being powerful. This has been handed down over centuries and through generation after generation because you are dealing with a lot of totalitarian societies who believed that powerful people were dangerous. People who thought for themselves were going to upset the balance of the haves and the have-nots. And so we got indoctrinated into this culture of learning how to anchor to what we don't have and to convince ourselves that being the meek and the humble means that we have to stay in poverty and want for nothing and and want nothing and be the all giving and just spend ourselves down, and then we are spiritual. So we have a bit of a resistance to becoming spiritual because there's some conflicts in there, and it can keep us staying confused about what that really means. And so the first thing we have to do is give ourselves permission to unlearn some things that we've been taught, to unlearn some approaches and some perspectives that aren't true. We have to sort through some of the conflicts that are not allowing us to tap into the power of our spirituality. So we will encounter some resistance. And I must tell you, it's going to take some courage on your part to start redefining what it means for you to give yourself permission to be powerful. We don't often get asked, would you like permission to be powerful? We just fall right into the Kool-Aid drinking that we've been given throughout our lives, and that's fed to us through all the different modalities that we've touched on throughout this module, through our families, through our cultures, through our media, through our own selves, through our relationships. And it's a process of moving resistance out of the way by increasing the amount of spirituality that you're bringing in. The second thing that keeps us from remembering our power is obviously fear, but more so the fact that fear is familiar. We know how to do it. It has been ingrained. It's like a record that's been playing on autopilot for years and years, and we effortlessly know how to manage and push through our fears, or to shut down and feel powerful when we overcome them, or to stay steeped in them and feel alive because we are in chaos and in turmoil. So this also is going to take an act of courage. It's going to have to come from a place that no longer is feeling emboldened by these fear draining mechanisms that become the way we do life. So fear is one aspect, but the familiarity of fear is really what makes us go back to the old ways of doing things. We would rather manage our fear than to step out in a world that we don't know anything about, even though it's the world that's filled with light. It's the world that's filled with power and possibilities. Fear can convince us that none of that works, that being woo-woo and being spiritual is dangerous, and get your head out of the clouds. Let me guide you. This is going to take courage. The third thing that keeps us from remembering our power is that our fear wants to receive something without letting go. It wants absolute certainty that if I trust God, it's going to turn out this way, it's going to look this way, it's going to feel this way, and if it doesn't, then you are going to pay the piper. Fear trusted God, and God let him down, and now you're going to go on a complete tirade about how it was dangerous to trust God. So just know, this is a lot of why we don't remember our power, because fear is so familiar. It has convinced us that I get you through. It may not be easy, but I do get you through. And you're not going to give yourself permission to see what it really feels like for Spirit and for God to get you through. Because there are some steps you get to skip when you start trusting God. As I mentioned before, you can get to know God through love, or you can get to know him through fear. It's up to you, because your soul has this, it's like a radio receiver. It's never going to stop seeking God. It's never going to stop seeking this frequency, because that's what it's here to do. It's here to stream the spiritual frequency into your body. So as much resistance that you may have, and as much risk that you want to avoid in order to trust God, is inconsequential to your soul. It just knows that its job is to get you plugged in. And so it's going to continue to give you those circumstances in order for you to find God. So why better than to release the process of doing it through pain and do it from a space of love? It takes practice, but man, it is much more fulfilling and rewarding, and it helps you to understand that part of the destiny is the tools that you gain on the journey. So this age-old colloquial saying, it's the journey, it really is, because it's tools that you're gathering on the journey. Now, the fourth thing that keeps us from remembering that we're powerful is that we have a fear of the unknown. And so our fear puts all kind of stories on what that is, and we start attaching emotions to those stories, and now we have full-blown, full-length movies about the horrors that await us when we trust in a process we don't fully understand. So without that daily practice, without that mechanism that's helping you to feel the certainty of what's coming, what's helping you to feel the safety of the divine substance and the magic of things that your mind cannot conceive, you won't have the ability. So this is going to be a process of courage, and it's going to be a process that requires you to do some things that are unfamiliar until they become familiar. And that is how we change our lives. We start little by little, day by day, increasing our capacity and our knowledge to learn new things, and then bada bing, we have a degree. We have graduated. We have evolved. We have passed the tests. So it's the same process here. And if you want to remember your power, you're going to have to forget your weakness.